The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
We're going to go back to the phone lines because Dr. Grace is with us. So, Dr. Grace, this is explosive, this Benghazigate, but the fact that ABC has opened the floodgates on it is just amazing. And right before we went to the break, and we've got callers on the line we're going to get to, you said that it gets worse. Tell us very quickly in a sentence or two why it gets worse, and then let's take these calls.
It gets worse because the hearings also revealed that there was an ability to save the people that were under attack. Remember, this assault went on for 8 hours, and yet our special operations team in Tripoli and F-16 fighter jets, everybody was told to stand down.
Yeah.
And this means that Americans were killed. There's only one person who can give an order to stand down, and that's the President of the United States. So we see clearly that the failure came from the top, and Americans died.
Yep, you're right. It does get worse. And let me just say, what if Zulu is right and this man is not even an American citizen? Oh, my gosh. This is huge, folks. Huge. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Tom, thank you so much for listening to Freedom Friday. You've got Dr. Grace. Go ahead and ask her your question.
Pastor Carl, God bless, and I have a comment. I couldn't agree more about the seriousness of Benghazi and that Obama should be impeached. However, I think I'll go you one more. I think he should be arrested and prosecuted. And if you'll just give me a minute,
well, you'll have to be quick. Go ahead.
Okay. According to Wikipedia. Quote, criminally negligent manslaughter occurs where death results from serious negligence. Also, criminally negligent manslaughter occurs where there is an omission to act when there is a duty to do so, or a failure to perform a duty owed. And they give an example. An example is where a doctor fails to notice a patient's oxygen supply is disconnected and the patient dies.
Right.
Well, we're not talking about a doctor.
No, we're talking a lot worse.
Doesn't notice a patient's oxygen supply is disconnected. We're talking about the commander-in-chief of the armed forces who disappeared for 7 or 8 hours and told somebody else just to take care of it for him, and all he cared about really was his political future and getting reelected.
Yeah, and told him to stand down. Dr. Grace, what do you think?
You are right. This is a criminal act. It's beyond impeachment. This is a criminal act. I agree with the caller 100%.
Yeah, and Dr. Grace, it was Tom that was calling. He brings up this criminal act and possible imprisonment. I don't know what the laws are about putting a man that was in the White House in prison, but if we find out he wasn't even a citizen in the first place and this was all a big ruse upon the United States, I would think prison would be one of the least of things that could happen to him. But
I have to say, although I think justice demands it, I think it's unlikely that it would ever happen because usually a president would be pardoned. I know it sounds atrocious to say that, but let's say he were impeached.
Yeah.
I doubt he would be imprisoned. I think he would be immediately pardoned only because you would have maybe a riot in this country.
Right.
It could lead to such civil unrest. So I think that the person who steps into the shoes of the executive would probably issue a pardon.
Right.
But I would have to say this. If we get impeachment, that would be a tremendous victory for this country.
It sure would. And I think about Chuck Colson, who went to prison over Watergate. How about Hillary? You think there's a chance for her? We've got other callers, so what do you think?
She should be. If justice demands it. Justice demands that this woman go to jail. She perjured herself.
Yeah, Chuck Colson did under Nixon. Yep. No, not only did she perjure herself, but she perpetrated a cover-up that resulted in people dying.
And they also, actually, if you think about it, too, they also stole the election from Mitt Romney because if this is true, and it was announced, if the truth was told then, Romney would have probably won the election.
Yeah.
So they also stole an election, and they defrauded every single one of us who cast a vote for Romney.
Yeah, plus they've submitted a fraudulent birth certificate. Let me keep going here. Pete, welcome to Freedom Friday. You've got a question for Dr. Grace. You're going to have to make it quick, Pete. We're running out of time.
Real quick, this show's so hot, I'm holding the phone with oven mitts.
I hear you.
Dr. Grace, have you seen, and Pastor Carl, have you seen the video or the clip years ago from the 60s of Hillary Rodham speaking about Richard Nixon? And she's up there. I don't know if she was a young secretary or an attorney. I think she was for Barry Goldwater. But I think she said, talking about Nixon, that the president is not above the law. He is not able to escape the law and this and that, and she goes on this rant how Richard Nixon should be held accountable. We need to find that video and put that in place and then show a picture of Barack Hussein Obama.
Thank you, Pete. You know, I've seen that before. How about you, Grace? Go ahead.
Hey, you got it. And the key word is we. We have to keep pressing this story forward. And you know about Hillary? It's not the first time she's covered up high crimes and misdemeanors. She did it for Clinton, her own husband, Bill, over and over again, including the rape of Juanita Broderick.
Yeah.
So this is part of her modus operandi.
Yeah. Hey, I got to ask you. So what if Obama throws Hillary under the bus on this? Don't you know that Bill Clinton is going to unload both barrels, politically speaking, and so will Hillary? Don't you know they will do their best to bury Barack Obama politically?
Wait a minute. I think the more interesting story is this. Is Hillary going to throw Obama under the bus? She may face prosecution, and she may have no choice but to say, hey, I was only taking orders.
Yeah.
And if she does that, we've got impeachment.
Yeah. Good gracious. I mean, this thing... This is huge.
Better than television.
Yeah, well, it is. But, you know, I hate... to say that I'm excited about the possibility of an impeachment of an American president, because I love this country and I love the office of presidency, and I hate to see it so besmirched. But it has been besmirched for the last 5 years, and I'm sitting on evidence that I know, and now we've got the Benghazi evidence, and I know what's going on here, and I am excited about the possibility of this man going down in impeachment. I am.
Well, it is for justice for people like Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty, who were waiting for their government to come and rescue them, and they got the order stand down. Imagine if it was any one of us serving our country, and when we need help, the government says, no, don't go and help those people, let them die. That's the equivalent of what this president did, and so of course we're excited for justice to be done.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, Dr. Grace, we're slap out of time again, as always. Time just flies. Like Pete said, this show's so hot when he holds the phone he has to use oven mitts.
That should be a new motto.
I love it. Well, listen, Dr. Grace, we'll see you next Friday, and I know a lot's going to happen between now and then. We'll have a lot to talk about and a lot to report on. God bless you. Happy Mother's Day, Dr. Grace.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.